own a weapon. However, I do support the Second Amendment. I have no problem with people owning weapons. The only part of the discussion that disturbed me was when you commented that along with rescinding the limitations on owning and carrying a weapon, that would rescind also the discharge of weapons within the city limits. I don't understand that logic at all. It seems to me that if one fires a weapon within a city limits of 150 yards is a pretty damn short distance for anything other than a very weak 22 gauge weapon. What's the thinking behind saying, well, it's all right if you discharge a weapon? Or am I hearing it wrong?
Well, let me start by saying that I believe that the borough's ordinances are defensible, and that I believe that you know, as an attorney, that there is absolutely a good faith basis for the borough to say that there's a difference between discharge and possession, which and it's not just possession, but it's lawful possession, which is what's limited under the Uniform Firearms Act. So I'm not in drafting the language for repeal. As an attorney, I'm not expressing the borough solicitor's view that the existing ordinance can't be defended. I believe that it can. But I recognize, as any lawyer needs to recognize, that I can't predict what any court will do in any case. And I've been involved in litigation where we've challenged laws as unconstitutional, where everyone said that law is going to stand, and we've been successful at having them declared unconstitutional. So I recognize more than anybody that creative lawyering can lead to success when people don't think you'd have success. And the reality is that from a law enforcement perspective, as I understand from the chief and as the chief has expressed tonight, part of what makes those laws defensible is also what makes it safe, in my mind, for the borough to repeal them. They're defensible because the conduct that they prohibit is otherwise prohibited by state law. That's what also makes it safe to repeal, because that conduct is otherwise prohibited by state law.
And you'll notice in my statement that's what concerned me as well. I share your concern, but the example we gave, the last time that particular ordinance was enforced was New Year's Eve of 1998. Is that correct?
Yeah,
somebody shot a gun in the air at midnight. And so today, if you didn't have the ordinance, what would they be charged with instead? Right, and that carries a higher penalty than the $300 fine. Yeah. So, I mean, we're not losing.
And just the one part that I didn't add is that there is then a financial risk to the borough of not repealing. Yeah. And that part of what borough council members have to consider is that is their fiscal duty. And that's part of what has to be weighed, and not simply a pure question on legality.
So I guess to summarize it, really what we're doing is protecting the physical integrity. We're not making the community safer or less safe. We're simply protecting physical integrity.
Reviewing it all in a continuum of financial responsibility and versus the necessity of the ordinance. And in these cases, what the determination is preliminarily made that the financial risk versus the practical necessity of the ordinances leads to the cost of the funding. Susan, do you have a question?
Yes, Susan Madian, I'm a borough resident. I'm on borough council. Chief, I have a question, and I was going to ask you before you made your last statement. But your last statement was feeding right into what my question is. When you or another officer goes out in the field, you secure your gun, and it's open carry. Are there any state laws that require someone who is openly carrying a gun to also secure it in a way? My concern with that is when you go into a park and there's kids playing, just as the kids see your gun and want to touch it, the same thing is going to happen very likely in a park where kids are playing. Or if somebody puts it down in order to tie a kid's shoe or whatever, that, you know, is there any state law that requires that to be secured in any way to keep it safer when children are around?
I don't know. But most people carrying a gun would carry it in a holster, and the holsters are different threat levels, but
good retention.
Chief, I would think the reckless engagement laws may provide a basis if there is, if there's that issue.
You know, it's the same thing with taking the gun home from work and putting it in your house. You know, what you're doing is putting your kids at risk. No matter how safe you are with the gun, there's going to be some time in your life that you forgot to put it away, that you didn't do what you should have done. And that's the one time that the kid will put it.
So that would be considered an
You'd be charged.
reckless endangerment,
Yeah,
just
you'd
by
be
not having it
charged.
secured
There's
at
no
all
doubt
when you're in a
about
park? Okay, that was my only
Yeah.
concern. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Paul Good, I'm Vice President of Pennsylvania Self-Protection. I wanted to first say, if you see somebody with an open carry gun, that's probably about 100 of the number of people that are actually carrying guns, because most people are going to carry guns, as I do, in a concealed manner. The other thing is, I want to bring out the same argument that we were successful in bringing out in Falls Township preventing empty. As a concealed gun owner, what I see are these local laws that are basically minefields. In other words, I have a permit to carry a gun, I'm walking through, and all of a sudden I walk to a parking lot, you have a local law here. Well, I'm subjected to at least a $300 fine, or how many days in prison if I refuse to pay the fine or whatever. So that's the main problem I see in having these local laws.
Alice Smith Cohen, resident borough, in the borough for over 30 years. And Chief, I have some questions. What are the rules with bars? Can people open carry into a bar?
Yes, they can.
Okay. Does that cause anyone concern that should the person open carrying become drunk and then have an argument and then discharge the
Well,
weapon?
you're changing the circumstances. The question is, can they carry it in the bar? Yes, they can.
Right.
Now, the circumstances of them getting drunk and being armed, they're going to be arrested.
And can I also just say, Chief, none of the ordinances that are under that exist in the borough or that are under consideration for appeal address that situation. Those are left to the ordinances that the borough has that relate to firearms are very narrow, and none of them relate to that kind of general scenario that you described.
But that general scenario could
Well,
actually happen.
I would hope that the bartender would control the situation. He has an obligation.
It's like drunk driving.
Yeah.
But there's nothing before council
Yeah.
that's related to that factual scenario.
I understand that, but I want to understand the viability of it actually happening, because I know fights have happened outside of, say, Stephanie's bar, when
Yeah.
people have had too much to drink and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So that, concerns me, and also the combination of drugs and the guns concerns me.
Yeah, I mean, you have to assume that people are obeying the law. They're following the Constitution. Now, if you add alcohol or drugs in there, then they're not in their right mind to make decisions about that.
Correct.
So I would stop them and take the gun off, and they would be arrested. That's what I would do.
Okay.
That, and I would hope that every police officer would do that. We have an obligation to keep the town safe, and that's what we're going to do. If you take it to court and you lose it in court, you lose it in court. I don't care. At least I got the gun.
Thank you.
All right.